VR, we all love it if love meant hate. VR is a tiny part of the overall gaming medium, easily the most niche part of it, so it's easy to understand how that already small community of gamers can have some games just slip through the cracks. I'm gonna be looking at 5 games I personally find underrated. Before you go into the comments and say, but Zach, I know this one! This game isn't underrated! I truly don't care, bro. I already know regardless people are gonna comment because their brain rot brains can't comprehend watching a 15-second intro, but you know how it is. Anyways, let's not waste any more time. Like, subscribe, join the Discord link in the description, and all that junk. First off, not only one of the best VR games in terms of swordplay, but in terms of visuals. Broken Edge is a game that, despite not having tons of hours in, I love it to death. The whole gimmick of the game is that it's a constant 1v1 sword fight where both of you and your opponent are locked into place and slowly brought closer to each other. This game takes a unique approach to swordplay, that being the lack of physics. If you're expecting Blade and Sorcery-esque physics and collision, you will be upset. But that's not what the game's goal is. The way the swordplay works is like this. You swing your sword at your opponent's sword, and depending on where you hit the sword, the bit of the sword you hit will break from where you hit it and above. Got all that? So let's say you strike the sword at its base, that sword basically completely breaks, leaving it as a paperweight. This also incentivizes a bigger high-risk, high-reward style of gameplay, as the closer you get to the base of your sword's opponents, the closer you get to your opponent's sword, making you an easier target. But if you're successful in hitting the sword at its base, your opponent is left defenseless. There's no typical health system for your enemy. One hit anywhere, and you or them are dead. This keeps rounds fast-paced and intense, so it's really fun. All this adds up to a gameplay loop that's lots of fun. The game is one of those easy-to-learn, hard-to-master type beats. The mechanics of it are simple enough to explain, but the intricacies of subtle gameplay moves gives it a higher skill ceiling. With there being around 9 or so classes, each have their own unique playstyle and ability. You can't play the knight like you play the pirate, so on and so forth. Now, I can't talk about this game without mentioning the absolutely beautiful visuals. It's not like a bajillion polygons or anything, which again, isn't what they're going for. A strong art style like this is what makes games hold up better than the graphics and polygon count themselves. Anyways, this art style is directly based off the works of the artist Mobius. And looking at his art, it's honestly amazing how they were able to translate it nearly 1-to-1. Making something 3D look 2D is so impressive and something I'll always admire. And the way it looks identical is just so cool, man. It would just be really cool if you could see it. That's why this video is brought to you by VR Wave, which are the sponsor of today's video. If you have glasses, you know how much of a pain playing VR is sometimes. Even with the glasses spacer, it's pretty hit and miss and often leads to discomfort and really makes the price point of a noose seem that much more worth it. Fortunately for you, VR Wave has you covered with these sleek prescription lenses that fit your specific prescription. Even for most people with perfect vision, VR Wave blue light filter and anti-glare lenses can help protect your eyes' health, as blue light will cause eye fatigue and sleep disruption, which can be filtered out by the VR Wave lenses. What's that? You just can't afford it? Oh, well, that's too bad. Get a job, you bum. The VR Wave lenses correct nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, autism. Last bit's a lie, but the other tailor-made precisely to your eye prescription. Say goodbye to long VR prescriptions that end in your glasses being 3 inches deep into your skin. Say goodbye to an unusually grotesque amount of fogging up from your glasses, and say goodbye to some other third thing, because VR Wave fixes all problems with wearing glasses in VR. Meta did an absolutely terrible job with the Quest 3 glasses spacer. The build quality of it is so terrible, mine broke within a week, leaving my glasses to awkwardly push up against my face, which, if you wear glasses, you know that's just terrible, man. The lenses are insanely easy to set up. You just pop 2 bases in like a pop in a pussy, and then the lenses themselves are just 2 magnets that you can put on and off whenever you want. It's super easy to order too. Simply order at the link in the description and fill out the online form. And using the link in the description will directly support me, so help a brother out. It's amazing and has immensely increased my enjoyment when in VR. Thank you to VR Wave for sponsoring the video, and now that I can see these games, let's take a look at more. Into the Radius is one of my favorite games of all time. I wrote I'm short instead of in short. Fuck. In short, Into the Radius is if you brought Stalker into VR. The whole general idea and gameplay loop of that game are nearly identical, but Into the Radius does so much of its own thing that it easily stands out when put side by side. Into the Radius is a semi-open world survival game with lots of horror aspects. You are recruited by the NPSC to do work inside of the Pechorsk Anomaly Zone. What once was a full of life small town has now become a deadly zone full of radiation, physics disobeying anomalies, and humanoid creatures out to kill you. Your job is to explore the zone and pick up / retrieve items that the UNPSC finds of value. Bring it back to your home base and you'll be rewarded with money, which can be used to upgrade your gear, buy more guns, and help you venture further into the Radius. Oh, he said the thing! He said the thing! It's a simple gameplay loop, but within that loop is a brilliantly crafted atmosphere where everything comes together to aid in player immersion. The dead ambient music, mixed with equally dead landscape, the surreal imagery of floating rocks and islands, the striking choice of having enemies that are alive yet feel dead to not only keep the horror aspect alive, but mix even better with the dead atmosphere. It's truly brilliant. And the gameplay itself is amazing. You do not have unlimited ammo, you can't just constantly swap mags. Each bullet counts, because if you run out of ammo completely, all your mags are empty, you have to manually load each mag with 1 bullet at a time. And if you drop your mag, well, that's a whole mag gone, and you either have to buy another or go back and find it. Nearly every idea ITR does is executed perfectly. The only real cons are the jank of the game and the anomalies not being fun to deal with or necessarily interesting. There's actually a sequel to this game that's in early access, and before it was publicly available, I actually had access to it because of an early key the devs sent me. I didn't play much at all, as I actually want to wait for the full release so I can go in blind and have the freshest experience when making Logs of the Radius Season 2. Yeah, I'm making it. Next up, we have another game that's directly inspired by another. I'm talking Grimlord. Grimlord is a VR Souls-like where you talk to NPCs, fight a lot of monsters, and probably die trying. It's hard to go into a lot of detail with this game because it's quite literally just describing Dark Souls. Matter is just Souls, most combat abilities carry over, etc. However, the combat really does feel super nice. Pairing feels insanely satisfying in VR, the clashing of swords not only producing a satisfying visual effect, but the sound design on top of it is just, it's just so beautiful. The actual weight of the sword also feels great. Hitting enemies feels really incredible thanks to the visual feedback. Also, speaking of visuals, this entire game looks really fucking good. To me, it's one of the closest attempts VR has gotten to looking truly AAA. The textures look super high quality, the models are great, and to me, it's one of the most best looking VR games out there. Let's run it back one last time to the Dark Souls aspect of it. It's difficult, no doubt, but it's not trying super hard to be super hard. It's a way more accessible Dark Souls game in the fact that it's hard, no doubt, but it's certainly not Souls level of difficulty. This makes it, to me at least, a great gateway game. If you like the actual gameplay, you'll like Dark Souls. To specify though, while it is a great gateway game, that doesn't mean the game itself isn't brilliant. If you've never played or heard of a Dark Souls game before, you would enjoy it. It's great fun. MuVR is the least official game on this list, you could say. It's not on Steam, nor is it on the Quest store, it's a download from a website. MuVR is essentially RetroArch for VR. RetroArch is a compilation of different emulators, which are applications used to emulate older games from consoles such as PS2, GameCube, the Wii, you get the picture. This totally legal way of playing older video games is usually safe for flat screen as, well, these are flat screen games. So what could VR possibly bring to the table with this sort of thing? If you answered nostalgia, no shit, that's the answer to everything. MuVR takes place inside of an 80s/90s inspired bedroom, giving you that vibe that everyone's always saying they want, but they don't actually want. But in all honesty, it's super amazing. You're given different TV options for each console, meaning you can run 8 and 16-bit games on CRTs to give it that authentic feel, or any game for that matter if you're feeling really spicy. Man, where to start on this game? Okay, there's so much thought packed in, and it's hard to find a good starting point. Alright, customization, let's talk about that. The entire room is fully customizable, from nightstands to TV stands to different props and TVs entirely. You can truly make the room of your dreams here. Each one of these props are tailor-made to fit comfortably in that late 80s, mid-90s, early 2000s kind of vibe, and it all looks really nice. Despite some things like TV spanning multiple generations, the way it all looks is super consistent. It knows exactly what it's going for. The TVs themselves have great quality. You can get these CRT filters and regular emulators, but the fact of the matter is when you can get closer to the TVs and see the actual individual pixels, that brings a whole new level to these things, which you couldn't really get out of a flat screen emulator. Lighting is something that is more crucial to this vibe than you would think, and they nailed it. Golden example is the light of the TVs illuminating your room accordingly when at night, which is just so cozy. Don't get me wrong, I think the whole nostalgic vibe is super overblown, because most people treat it as this, oh, I wish everything was like this, and I'm like, no, you don't. You do not want only CRTs, trust me. But this game is, well, I call it a game, but you know what I mean, is perfect because it's not trying to be that. Because it can't. It's an option that offers you the perfect vibe these times of people like, and I'm a fan of it. And the fact is, once you have all these games downloaded, you can use them for regular emulators also. MuVR is really perfect in every single way, actually. I highly recommend checking it out. There's so much more I could say about it, but I'll direct you to a video I made a while back on it, which is, admittedly, it's not super great or in-depth, but hey, it's more. So yeah, MuVR is perfect. Oh yeah, there's also a flat screen mode if you're a pussy. And last up on our list is Until You Fall, a game with such strong aesthetic it makes me sad all VR games aren't like this. We'll start with the actual gameplay first because honestly, it's kind of the weakest part. Okay, so Until You Fall is a roguelike, which depending on the person you are means you'll really love it or you'll really hate it. Me, I'm somewhere in between. I don't like roguelikes, but like most things when brought into VR, I always end up liking it more than a flat screen variant. Hell, I don't even like survival games, yet Into the Radius is one of my favorite games of all time. Up there with Sonic Generations, Thrill of the Fight Before Your Eyes, and Fallout 4. Yeah, that was an excuse to list off some of my favorite games. But what do I think of Until You Fall's gameplay? I like it. I think it could have done a bit more with the fact of it being in VR, but I could say that about most VR games, so it doesn't really matter. Bottom line is it's pretty damn solid, if not a bit bare bones. Just like all roguelikes, the pattern in which you kill enemies in progress is identical. Every enemy is taken down almost identically, the only difference being how much health they have and how aggressive they are. However, it's just, I don't know, man, dude, I just think it's fun. I could pick apart game genres all day of the week, but the bottom line is if something is flawed, but I enjoy it, then I really don't care. And I think Until You Fall is perfectly fine. It doesn't have any real flaws of its own, mainly just tropes of roguelikes I don't like. Dude, that took me like 20 times to say. Try saying that fast, bro. Mainly just tropes of roguelikes I don't like. Mainly like But enough of that, because the visuals are what I'm really here to gawk at. They went full vaporwave with this game. Everything from the plants to the music, which, by the way, is absolutely incredible, to the literal sky. That's not a joke. It's like green. The sky is green sometimes. It's perfect. Everything is accounted for and makes for one of the most consistent art styles in, honestly, any game I've seen. Right up there with Broken Edge for me. I really am a sucker for a good art style. Okay, maybe I didn't have as much to say as I thought I did. I don't know, man. Sometimes I like a thingy without knowing exactly how or why I like it, and it just is what it is, I guess. And yep, that's the video. Wait, one more thing! Nah, I'm just fucking with you. I got nothing. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Y'all get it. If you enjoyed the video, thanks, GOAT, and I'll see you in the next time, which will probably be soon. Oh, yeah. Also, check out VR Wave link in the description. Bye. Bye, guys.